One Arizona priority recruit continues to show why he is one of the handful of best prospects in the country and why it might have been a really good thing that Arizona offered him before most.
You are Locked On Wildcats, your daily podcast on the Arizona Wildcats. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thanks for keeping it Locked On Wildcats and making this your first listen of the day. I am your host, Mike Luke. All right, now this show is brought to you today by FanDuel. Great deal going on with FanDuel. You can put down $5 and you can get $200 in free plays if that bet hits. That simple, that easy. Check it out. Again, Locked On. Thanks for making this your first listen of the day, your team every day. All right, now Section 7 is here. This is the biggest recruiting event of the year for the University of Arizona and a lot of others, mainly because it's in Phoenix, so it is convenient, and there are a lot of U of A players that we need to take inventory of. A lot of U of A prospects, that be that as it may. So the first one that we need to talk about, and we're going to talk about a lot of these guys. We're even going to get into a little bit of COA U19 talk, all of that. But the first one that we got to talk about is Cam Williams out of St. Mary's. Cam Williams is an absolute monster. I don't know how else to put it. He is a total stud. He's about 6'11", 6'10", can shoot like the wind. I don't know if that's a term or not, but he can do everything. You know, you hear the term Kevin Durant all the time for players, and a lot of times, you know, and again, it's always kind of hyperbole because none of these players are Kevin Durant. But at the end of the day, this dude's something different. This guy is unique. You watch him, and you can just tell that is somebody that you know, he was born to play basketball, period, point blank, end of story. You watch how he moves like someone who's 6'4", 6'5", and you can tell that when he's got a body type that is absolutely going to take to weightlifting, that's going to take to training. When he does get to the NBA, barring injury, by the time this man is 25, 26 years old, he could be one of the best players in the world, and I don't think that anybody would bat an eye. He is like I said, he is a total freak. The kind of player that you just don't see come around very often. He's the best prospect in the class, and like I said, I would be fairly surprised if he doesn't end up around number 5 in this class. Now, Arizona's obviously been recruiting him for quite a while. That is a good thing for Arizona because there are going to be a lot of suitors for him. Duke just offered. That's obviously a big one because, you know, Duke is generally most kids' dream school or something like that. So that's going to be a little bit of an issue. The other schools, though, I don't necessarily worry about. He's visiting Purdue. He's going to visit Texas. He's going to visit like 7 to 10 schools, I guess. I don't really, like I said, there's a lot of schools that I think he's just checking out. I don't really worry about those ones, though. Duke, I definitely worry about. Duke, I could see being a problem for Arizona and all of this. But they can, like I said, they can pay Cam a lot of money. They can pay him well, both Arizona and Duke. Arizona's never missed out on a home state kid that it prioritized early on. That's a pretty cool track record. That's a pretty cool thing going on. And plus, he's a kid from St. Mary's. I mean, you look at the St. Mary's track record that the U of A has, and it's pretty solid. You know, Channing Frye, Jared Bayless, etc. So we will find out how this one plays out. But he, to nobody's surprise, was an absolute stud. I think you could easily make the case that he is the best player on Arizona's board. And if he's not the best player on Arizona's board, then he is right there. He is. You know, he was one of those guys that always felt like he was probably a little bit underrated where he was at when he was at, you know, like even when he was at 15. I mean, heck, when he was at 28, you could just tell by looking at him for 5 seconds there weren't 28 better players in the country, 28 better prospects, that is. And so, again, that's going to be one that Arizona is going to have to watch. Arizona is going to have to follow and see. And, you know, like I said, we'll see how it plays out. But there's a lot of interesting aspects to him. And the fact is, too, he just just keeps getting better and better and better and better. Those are the kind of players too that are always intriguing, because you worry about some of these guys that they just get kind of capped out early and they just aren't that good, as they continue to progress. You think of a Stanley Johnson, you think of a Shabazz Muhammad. Those are the kind of guys that you're just like, But Cam Williams, just on another level. Like I said, that'll be a TJ Benson recruit. TJ's been all over him from day one, and I think that is going to that will continue to be the case. Just like I said, you watch him, he's just different all the way around, and it wouldn't surprise me at all again, he's good enough to play at absolutely any school in the country and go in there and start. He's going to be, we're going to get to Koa Pete here in a minute. He might not quite be the player right now that Koa is, but he's probably got a better long-term prognosis, just because of how big, how long, how sinewy he is, and just all of the different aspects that he brings to the game. And the fact is, he continues to he just continues to get better, and I think that's the part that that's just kind of exciting about this, is that he just continues to get better. So those are the kind of guys you watch, and like I said, he's done a really, really good job. They've done a really, really good job to where we're at this stage. So Cam Williams, like I said, that's going to be one that that's going to be one that's going to be interesting. Then Cam Holmes, solid as always. Listen, Cam Holmes is Mr. Steady Eddie. You watch Cam Holmes, you just see a guy that lets the game come to him. He's not an elite level prospect, but he's somebody that Arizona's been on from day one. I didn't know this, but he has a relative, I guess, that goes to the U of A, because when he was asked about what visits he's going to be going on, he didn't mention the U of A, and he said, because of that, he said, well, I'm at the U of A all the time. And I don't know if it's a sister or what, but he's got a relative that goes to the U of A, so that's something good for Arizona. But those two guys, like I said, those are two guys that you watch and you're just like, you can see why Arizona prioritized them early. Cam Holmes is going to have an interesting list, I think. I think he ends up at the U of A, but it's going to be one of those interesting lists to see how it looks, because it's going to be, like he's naming schools. He's like, Oklahoma is a school that I really want to get to. It's kind of like his brother, Duran, where, he ends up at Dayton somehow, and you're like, Now, granted, Duran wasn't viewed as the type of player that Cam Holmes is. But again, Cam Holmes just steady. Like I said, when you got a lefty, and his shot is definitely coming around. He's good with the ball. He's able to make a myriad of different plays when he needs to. And when he's pushing the ball, he's a really, really good facilitator. Like I said, there's just a lot to like about his game. And the more that you watch him, the more that you just see that he is kind of that guy that can kind of just connect everybody on the basketball court together. And you can see, too, guys like playing with him. And I think that's something, too, with Holmes that you watch and you're just like, okay, you can win a lot of games with him. He's got a really good reputation. Kids like him. And it's, like I said, it's an easy thing to see why kids like playing with him, because he plays ball the right way, and so there's so we'll find out. But Cam Williams is definitely the one that has really, really emerged as that player that you're just kind of like, oh man, is this guy going to be the best player in the country when we look up in 3 months? Because he's got that type of ability. The other thing too about him is that he's incredibly fluid. You watch him and he is just like I said, I'm just going to keep going back to it. I don't hate the Kevin Durant comparison at all. A lot of people have been pegged as Kevin Durant, but a lot of times they're 6'7" with like a long wingspan or something. This kid's legitimately 6'10", 6'11", blocks shots the way he moves. He even moves kind of like Kevin Durant. So, and he's got, like I said, he's probably not going to be the player that Durant is, but he's also got a body that is going to be able to take on muscle in a way that I don't think that Kevin Durant's body will ever be able to take on. So. But again, like I said, two kids that are obviously from the state of Arizona as well. And, like I said, we keep talking about it, but man, this state is producing a lot of studs right now, a lot of players that are really, really good at basketball. And I think that's something that this coaching staff's going to look to take care of. And another one, too, there is a side note, another player that's a top 10 prospect. There's a little bit of movement with him as well. But first, FanDuel, my friends. FanDuel, check out FanDuel. All right, here's the deal with FanDuel. Okay, now, the NBA playoffs are in full swing. All right, when I say that, you got Game 7 coming up here. And then after that, that's going to be all for the whole enchilada, the whole chicken caboodle. Like I said, I like the Thunder, but man, anytime you're in a Game 7, you gotta be a little nervous because it just takes a couple guys to get really hot and not be able to miss. You want to get in. This is the last basketball of the year, last men's basketball. So again, the cool thing about FanDuel too is it makes it easy to stay in the game, even if you don't care about either of these teams. Before tip-off and live with player props, performance trends, same-game parlays, you name it. If you've got a read on what's heating up, why not get in there and hop in and make that play? So again, here's the deal. New to FanDuel, it's the perfect time to sign up. Head to FanDuel.com and place your first $5 bet. If it wins, you get $200 in bonuses. Make every moment more with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. And like I said, Game 7 of the NBA Finals. Thanks for keeping it locked on Wildcats and making this your first listen of the day. I am your host, Mike Luke. Okay, now let's talk a little bit about. We got a little bit of news here. Bruce Branch, who is obviously a stud, a top 10 player in his class. He will be leaving Gilbert Perry. Now that Sam Dwayne is gone, it sounds like he will be taking his ball and he will be going to Prolific Prep in Florida. Like I said, there are a lot of players that have come out of Prolific Prep. You feel, I think, a little bit better about it if you're in Napa or something. But again, he's going to Florida, so I don't love that. But he is a good, like I said, he's an awesome prospect. And he will be he will be going there. That's a player that Arizona is obviously going to continue to recruit. It just becomes a lot harder now because you're in Florida and you are a 5-star player that everybody in the country is going to try to be recruiting. So be that as it may, we'll see how that one does play out. But you don't love that. But you also could kind of see the tea leaves that when Sam Dwayne announced his retirement after Koa, who we're going to get to in a minute, you knew that Bruce Branch might be on the move, and that is exactly what is going on. So we will update that as we know more. Now, back to a couple of the players, too, that you need to know. Darius Wobbington. Arizona's obviously offered Darius Wobbington. These are difficult situations for teams or players like Wobbington because he's trying to get post position, and he's got players that look like me that are just basically just looking him off and saying, yeah, no, get out of the way. I'm going to do my own thing. It's annoying. It's hard, but you can tell, too, the way that he's improved his body, the way that he gets up and down the court now, the way that he can just maneuver everything has been top-notch. He is like I said, he's a really, really good basketball player, and he's a nice prospect. He continues to develop, and I think that's the main thing that you're looking for, is you want guys like this that continue to get better. I would be pretty surprised if he doesn't end up at Arizona. Tommy obviously likes him a lot. And he is a player that just continues to get better. And these are difficult settings to be able to watch a guy like that in, because you don't really get the real gist of who that player is. Mainly because he is he's not given an opportunity, because half the time these guys have coaches too that have no clue what they're doing, and they don't know how to get the guy the ball or be that, whatever the case may be. And I think that's something that that will be fixed at the U of A. But Wobbington, another guy that I think Tommy Lloyd looks at, and he's just like, yeah, man, I would really like to be able to work with that guy. Wobbington's got it all, though. He's just, like I said, he's not a next level athlete, so he's not going to ever be like a Cam Williams type prospect. But he's a really, really good basketball player, and somebody that probably a multi-year player, and you'll be able to win a lot of games with him. So, like I said, these are tough. Sometimes situations like this are a little bit tough. Now, some of the guys that we also need to talk about too. Tony Bryant. This is an interesting one. He's rated as the 12th best player in the class. Been to Arizona, doesn't have an offer. I don't know that Arizona's going to offer him. And again, I have no inside information on that. But he's an interesting player in that how he plays. You can kind of see how maybe this isn't a Tommy type guy, in that he is he's about 6'9", but I don't really know what he does. Is he a power forward? Is he a small forward? What exactly is he? And he doesn't really, at least in the game we saw, and again, it's one game, he didn't exactly dominate, and he just kind of loafed. But a lot of guys are going to do that in this situation. Arizona's obviously recruiting him, but he doesn't have an offer. Tommy is also one of those guys, though we know about it. Tommy's going to be very frugal when it comes to his offers. He's not just going to hand these ones out like candy. He's been very clear about that an offer from Arizona needs to be something that's very important, and that is the case. That is the case here for Tony Bryant. I would imagine they will continue to watch Bryant, see how he performs, see what he does, because again, there's obviously a lot of potential there. If you're ranked in the spot that he is ranked in, you obviously have a lot of there's a lot to like about your game. Maybe we just need to see a little bit more of that, and maybe we'll see how that plays out. But the one though that I also you have to talk about though too a little bit is Aiden Diggs. This kid's good. He's a millennial. He was at Williams Field last year. He's a freshman. He's one of these guys too. He's always been 6'5". He's probably maxed. You first heard about him probably when he was in 8th grade. Arizona was watching him. He's good. He just got a Kansas offer. I would be stunned if Kansas has actually ever watched him, but he's good. I mean, he looks like a guy. I don't know that he's ever going to be an uber elite recruit, but he looks like somebody that's probably going to be in that top 40 range, something like that, and certainly good enough for an Arizona offer. It'll just depend on how his development continues to take off. But you can see why he has a lot of you can see why he's got a lot of interest and why he's been viewed as precocious for so long, because again, there's a lot to his game that you just kind of see, all right, that checks off. He's got a good body. Like I said, I don't know how much it's going to continue to grow. He understands the game. He's got a pretty good skill set. He's a good player. Like I said, he's a good player, so we shall see. Now, another one to keep an eye on, Demarcus Henry. Now, Demarcus Henry is very fascinating. This is Chris Henry's son, the passed away NFL wide receiver. Chris Henry's son, I believe it's Chris Henry Jr., is viewed as the top wide receiver prospect in the entire country. No surprise, he is a guy. He is going to be going on. He is going to be going on to the Ohio State, but his son Demarcus Henry, really good. He's about 6'8", about 185, 190 pounds, something like that. Like I said, he's at Modern Day, so you got a good connection in there. He's going to be one to continue to watch. I would imagine there's going to be players that are going to be higher up the priority list than him, but he's got some potential. You can see it, and that's always what you're looking for with situations like that. You're looking for somebody that's got some potential that can be that dude. And that's like I said, I think DeMarcus Henry's got that. It'll be interesting to see how long does he play this one out, because he's got a lot of ability, but what is that? What's that next move for him? So we'll continue to talk about that. Now, we're going to talk a little bit about some players we're going to preview for tomorrow, and we got to talk about the elephant in the room again, and that is Mr. Koa Pete. Thanks for keeping it locked on Wildcats and making this your first listen of the day. I am your host, Mike Luke. All right, now, some guys we got to see tomorrow. Kai Miles out of Mesa. He is kind of set the world on fire. The 24/7 folks saw him, and they said that he's one of the best point guards in the class. He certainly looks the part. He's got a really good reputation. I know that he's been working with Shaheed Carson. He's good. He's really good. I'm excited to see him. I'm excited to see how he, which is kind of what his game is like, what kind of funk he brings. But he's really good. He's a player that it's easy to see. All right, that's going to be a guy that could probably play in the NBA. That's going to be a high-level Power 5 recruit. I would imagine this summer he gets a number of offers, because he's that guy. Plus, he's not a shrimp. It's not like he's 5'2" and he's running around there and you're like, well, I guess that's not really that's really what we're getting, something like that. He is but like I said, he's got a lot of talent to him. He brings a lot to the table, and he's a player that athletically is very, very good as well. His handle is really good. He can push the pace. He knows when to slow it. He's just, like I said, he's just kind of all over the place good. And, that's a good thing. He is a good basketball player, and he's one of those guys you can win a lot of games with. So it'll be interesting to see how Arizona does play this one out. Now, Mr. Koa Pete. Koa Pete continues to dominate for the U19, and I'm going to say this. I believe the Koa Pete is going to be one of the 4 or 5 best freshmen, if not higher, in all of college basketball next year. He is a matchup nightmare for any team that's going against him, in that he is 6'8", 220, but he can also really handle the ball. I think that's something that a lot of people have missed out on, is that he can handle the ball. This isn't just some brute. This is a guy that, he moves the ball, he passes, he facilitates, he does a lot of different things that I think a lot of folks are just kind of like, all right, well, that's pretty impressive stuff. He is and he's going to be, I think he's going to be given the keys, man. He's going to be, Tommy Lloyd knows what he's got there. Tommy Lloyd's going to use this one. Don't think this will be a insert Carter Bryant joke, but he's going to do that. And again, I think with Koa, you're going to see somebody that's got a very versatile skill set. The only thing he really can't do is shoot the deep three. That might be able to get there at some point, but overall, he is like I said, he's a good basketball player, and he's physically somewhat overwhelming. He's somewhat overpowering, and when you watch him, you can just see, you're like, man, you can tell how he came from a football family, just looking how he's built. But again, he's very athletic, he's nimble, and the other thing a lot of people don't get, his passing is next level. He's got a lot of point forward type. He's got a lot of point forward type, skills to his game, and players like playing with him. I mean, he's got a really, really good reputation, and he is very mature. He's very mature for his age. You watch him speak. This is somebody that has been basically training for this for his entire life. He's definitely a one and done. What kind of pro he is, I'm not sure. Now, listen, worst case scenario, he's going to be a very, very solid role player. Best case scenario, he's going to be a star, but he's going to be able to show off a lot. And Tommy Lloyd's never really had a power forward like him that can handle, that can dribble. And Tommy Lloyd does a great job with power forwards. I think that's very clear. From Azuolas to Bellis to Keyshawn Johnson. I mean, Trey Townsend wasn't good, but that just is what it is. Trey Townsend's just not very good. But Koa Pete is on another level than all those guys, and he's got the total package. He's got the key shot athleticism with the skill set of somebody much better. This is obviously a one-year stop for him, but he also plays basketball the right way, and I think that's something that's going to be exciting. But and I always say this, when you go to Team USA, when you go against the best players in the world, and you consistently are one of those best players, you are one of those best players, and that's always been the case with Koa. As far as Koa's height, Koa's 6'9.5" with shoes on, 6'8" without, or 6'7 3/4, whatever the case may be. But he's tall. He's not 6'6". He's not one of those. So he's got more than enough. But Section 7, though, like I said, it was a very, very fun first day. Cam Williams, just got to keep repeating that. Cam Williams is a stud. Not exactly sure what else to say about him other than the fact that if he is in the top, he's ranked in the top 3 in the class by the time he's done. That would not surprise me in the least. That is the kind of talent you were talking about. You were talking about somebody who is, like I said, 6'11", can shoot the lights out, can dribble, get up and down the court, athletic, and just a fluidity aspect, and he just keeps getting better. Now you got Duke that's obviously offered, so that's going to be an interesting thing to watch how that plays out. But then after that, you got Cam Holmes, you got Darius Wobbington, Tony Bryant was a little underwhelming, but there's like I said, there's a lot of players up here. Kai Miles will be fun to watch. Aiden Diggs. So I would, like I said, I'd recommend getting up there and checking it out, but because like I said, this is the best recruiting event of the year, and U of A is obviously very, very well represented. So we're going to talk more about that tomorrow, though. Who did what? And I would imagine we're probably going to have some more Cam Williams chatter because, like I said, some guys are just built a little bit differently. Some guys are on a little bit of a different plane, and that is exactly what Cam Williams is, and this country is recruiting him in the manner in which he should with the kind of talent that he has. All right, so we'll be back with you tomorrow. But as always, very, very much appreciate you all making Locked On Wildcats your first listen of the day. Locked On, your team every day. Keep in mind here, everybody, I mean, Arizona is going to bring in a monster 2026 class, and here at Locked On, we're going to be telling you about it the entire time.